Hi, this is Malachi. This video is titled While God Slept and the Two Millenniums. This is a hard video for me to do because, for one, I know it's going to be extremely controversial, and I don't know how people are going to take it. I don't know how you're going to take it as a viewer, because the thousands, if not tens of thousands of videos that have aspects of the fall of Lucifer or are not correct. The videos on ancient civilizations like the Atlanteans, the Mesopotamians, the Samaritans, the Egyptians, the aspects of the Anunnaki, the fallen angels, this whole astronaut, whatever they call it, thing that you see online. All these guys that go out and make these speeches and write these books about this stuff are just, they're missing everything. You know, and I watched a video, that's why I wanted to do this. I watched a video, I think it's Sid Roth, or it's Supernatural, the guy with, it's supernatural, you know. He had a guy on there, I can't remember his name right now. And Perry, I think it is. Some of the stuff that I hear that the guy says, I kind of agree with. But on some of it, you know, they're just not getting the point. They're not reading their word. They're not reading with understanding, maybe. Maybe that's the case. Maybe they're reading, but they just don't get it. They're talking to the wrong people. They're like Job. They're getting advice from a bunch of yahoos that aren't really telling them what they need to know. Because in reality, God's the one that tells you what you really need to know. Because that's what happened to Job. God had to have a little bit of a conversation with him. So, but the concept was, they're talking about Genesis 1:1 to Genesis 1:2 and saying, oh, there's a big gap of time there. No, there's no gap of time there. There's no gap of time there. Moses was a musician. When Moses wrote that, Moses was trying to make a statement. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. He's a musician. He's a creative type person, maybe even an actor. It's called a prelude, or it's called the hook of a song, to set up for the chorus that will have the same aspect of that hook. So then you have a familiarity with it in your mind already when he starts to really get into the chorus of the song. You already have the hook in your head. So Genesis 1:1 to Genesis 1:2, there's no separation of time. But however, when he gets into Genesis 1:2 and kind of beyond, Moses is kind of given double meanings. You know, the earth was void, the earth became void. It was the same, because he's talking about a stage of where he's at now, and then also the past. He's saying the earth was void. God created it out of nothing. He's just saying, God created everything out of nothing. But it also became void too, of what Satan did later. And I'm going to get to that. The same way when he said, God said, let there be light. And then he separated the light from the dark. The light wasn't the sun and the moon. That didn't happen until the fourth day. You know, you read your Bible, you understand this. It's very simple. You just pick up the Bible and you read. It's not complicated. So, what Moses was saying then is the same thing, using words to mean two things. He's saying, okay, God created, everything was perfect, there was light, but then darkness crept in and he had to separate the two. So he's saying what's happened to now in this stage in the life was happening then. So he's making two meanings. There was light, but as I'm going to tell you later on, he had to separate light from darkness. You know? He didn't have time to have this whole drawn out, you know, 20-hour film. Like, you know, if you've been in the music or the film industry, you know most of the time if you got a 2-hour movie, you actually have 20, 30 hours worth of film that you've cut out. Talk about Stanley Kubrick. He's the king of that. So, and I'm doing a video on that too. It's called the Rainbow Dome. So look for that. But I want to get into the millennium that was in Genesis, because there was a millennium in Genesis, when Lucifer reigned on this earth for 1,000 years, just as there is a millennium in Revelation where Christ will reign upon this earth for 1,000 years. Oh, I know. I just blew your mind. Nobody wants to hear this, because it was during Satan's reign of that first millennium when God rested. See, this all ties in to the story of the wheat and the tare. If you read that again, and you think about the aspect of while God rested, while the owner of the field left, while he rested, Satan came in and he deceived. Same thing applies. Prior to the time when God rested, he said, let us make man in our image and our likeness. That included Lucifer. He had not turned at that stage. He was who he is, or who he was. He didn't change until God left. And when God left and rested, along with 2/3 of the angels and Christ himself, they all rested. He was given control of the earth. And he had the people. God had kind of established rule in his somewhat kingdom. And there's certain remnants of people who worship the true God even back then that are separate from Adam and Eve, because Adam and Eve were created afterwards when God came back and he saw what Lucifer had done, and the only way that he was able to save the people that Lucifer lied to, he stole their soul from, and through his deceptions, were to come through the blood, and then for Christ, and then that was the only way, because see, Lucifer established himself on the earth and he didn't want to leave. He became a god to people. Within that 1,000 years, technology grew. I mean, you think we have technology today? They had the same thing back then. I mean, you think all the pyramids are just structures to worship some god? No, they're structures that hold an aspect of almost circuitry, but an organic circuitry. They're far more advanced than we are. But they weren't advanced enough to lock God out entirely. But we're at that stage now with a combination of organic knowledge and a digital knowledge. And don't think for one reason that where we are now in a digital aspect of this world, that we're not beyond that. Because beyond that is another realm, and that is water has memory. Water has memory, and if you look through the Bible, water is everything. It's water in the blood. Genesis 1:2, water. The flood, water. The apple, well, it wasn't even an apple, it was a fruit, but what's in most fruit? 98% water usually. 90% water. What's in most of us? Water. Where does the water come from? What was flooded on the earth? Water. Okay? Joseph thrown into a dry well. Moses pulled from the water. His name means from the water. Moses, drawn from the water. He met the women at the well. He came back, turned the water into blood, part of the Red Sea. He made the water that was bitter sweet. He hit the rock, water. John the Baptist baptizing, water. Christ, first miracle, water into wine. The final was blood. All ties in. All ties in. But while God gave power to Lucifer on the earth for 1,000 years for him to reign and to watch over his creation, his people, for 1,000 years while he rested. This is why God says in the Ten Commandments, honor the Sabbath, keep it holy, because Satan defiled the Sabbath. When God gave him that time while he was away and resting, he took everything that he had and he defiled it. He lied to the people. He deceived the people. He deceived them all. That's why so many cultures have the dragon as their god. That's all they knew. That's why Christ had to be crucified, and that's why he even talked to those that were before the flood. because they didn't have the aspect of the blood. They didn't know. And so they weren't held accountable. That's why he spoke to them and he preached to them. The same thing will apply in the next millennium. There will be those that will be, there's no such thing as reincarnation, but your soul goes forever. So there's certain people that may not get it right now, but they'll get it. They'll at least have an opportunity to get it. And they'll also at least have an opportunity at the very end when Satan's released for a short time to pledge who they really want to serve. But if you ever question the aspect of this E.T. and this Anunnaki crap and all these things that all these people believe, there's a whole massive satanic Illuminati cult, and they all base everything off Lucifer and their God. Yeah, because he had a reign of 1,000 years upon this earth. His kingdom was on this earth, but they're blind. They don't get it. They don't understand that he defiled everything that God told him to do. He wanted to become God himself. So when God came back, he didn't want to destroy mankind. You know, we're precious to him. He didn't want to destroy one of us. He didn't want to kill off any of us. There's been many times that he's wanted to. He did the flood, but that was at a stage of the earth where they were at, where we're at now, with understanding of organic technology and the aspect of digital technology through means of electricity. And even beyond that, they were defiling into the blood and the technology into the line, into the understanding the complexities of blood and the structure of DNA. And even going beyond that, understanding the fact that water has memory. Do you know we're almost at a stage in technology where we could take a drop of water and that drop of water has more power within it, computerized power of memory, than your best CPU chip that we have out there today. And they're right there that close. And there's a combination right now going on within this world. Because they are wanting to bring back Lucifer. Because he's not on this earth. Anybody says that Lucifer's on this earth now is a liar. They don't know what they're talking about. Christ bound him when he was crucified. When he paid the ultimate price, he bound him. Now he's in chains, and the only person that will release him is Michael. And when that happens, you'll know. When Lucifer comes down on this earth, you will know. Now, he may have his beast, and he may have his false prophet, and these types of things. But let me tell you what, when he comes back, you will know. Because I'm pretty sure he'll look like Jesus, because they're both twins, in my opinion. Look-wise. Internally-wise, no. And he's going to come back, and he's going to tell all people about he's going to be the smartest thing ever walk the face of this earth. No, I don't care if you think you have a IQ of 190 or 200 or however high it goes. I know I have a very high IQ. So I don't care how smart you think you are. You won't stand a chance. This is why when God's elect go up to him, they are not to preconceive anything in their mind of what they'll say. Because for them to speak out of their own knowledge will be that of a baby speaking compared to the knowledge that he has. But God's had to intervene in multiple occasions within this earth. One, the flood. The other, the Tower of Babel, almost getting to the point where they had the aspects of that technology to do these things. The Roman Empire. It's when Christ came to kind of just end it all. There have been other times too. Egyptian, that's why Moses came. That's why he took the ark with him. When he took the ark with him, he took a lot of the aspects of power that they didn't have. And when they didn't have that power, they didn't have the ability to move forward. You think about this earth in the last 120 years of all the things that we've been able to do. You know, cars, airplanes, rockets, computer technology, AI. The list goes on. And that's just within the last 120 years. Think Think if you were on this earth during that millennium of Lucifer's reign, what do you think the technology was then? This is why so many people follow Lucifer, because he's lied to them all. And so many, unfortunately, so many people that are theologians or Christian leaders, their stories have been so twisted that people don't know what to believe. But however, Lucifer's story is always pretty much the same all the time. So, all I'm telling you is this, is that God slept, and while he slept, it's just like if you were let's say the father of a household, and you were going to take a nap, and you know, one of your sons came to you and says, hey, can I borrow the car? And you say, yeah, no, not a problem, go borrow the car. And he went to go to the store and get whatever he got, and he took a couple of your other kids with him. And then, you know, when you wake up, you look outside and there's no car there. And then you're calling him, hey, where are you at? Where'd you go? And him not wanting to come back, or him holding hostage your other children within that car. He's saying, if you try to take this car back, I'll destroy everything that you have. Same thing happened. Same thing happened before. God didn't want to destroy his people. You know? He didn't. And Lucifer, with his technology, even with what they had at that point in time, you know, he became gods to them all. That's why they all have the dragon. That's why Asian culture have dragon, the Indian cultures have dragons. So they all have dragons. Because that's who they serve, the dragon. What do you think Lucifer is? There's a reason why God cursed him to be a snake, or cursed him as a snake, dust the ground and shall eat. There's reasons for all this stuff. And I can show you tie-ins throughout Genesis and Exodus that would blow you away. But I'm not going to make this video, you know, 5 hours long, because I can go on forever. It's all I've ever studied is Genesis and Exodus. This is what I study. And parts of, mostly Revelation, Genesis, and Exodus. That's what I've studied all my life. So things are very simple and easy. They're not complicated to me. They may be to some, not to me. I'm hoping with this little tidbit of knowledge or awakening, I don't know what you'd call it, just me speaking the truth, what the Bible already states, that maybe you'll stop getting sucked into all this other crap, all these other false doctrines and false preachers. And if you read Revelation, you'll understand that now, well, you'll just understand that God was clearly telling John, say, hey, look, you know, when he was saying that there'll be false preachers and things happening in the end time, think about it now, all the people with their own blogs, their own concepts, their own this, their own that. He was right on. He was always right on. And you could turn around and say that what I'm saying is false, but I don't believe it is. Matter of fact, I know it's not. I know it's not. Because it's the only thing that makes sense. Yeah, there was a fall of man. Yes, Lucifer did fall. Yes, he was given a lot. And he deceived the earth. But Christ, he prevailed. Never forget that. He prevailed, and he prevailed by having to go through the same system or the same deal that we go through. Anyways, it's Malachi signing out. Hug your kids, call your parents, go see your neighbor, repent, and be baptized.